You spend your whole life doing what they tell you is right. Work hard, stay loyal, keep your head down, and one day you're supposed to rest. I believed that. My wife believed that too. She used to tell me, "Walter, you gave them everything. One day it's going to come back to us." I believed her. But that morning, I looked over, and she didn't say much, just had that look. Not angry, not surprised, just worried. And my kids, they were still young, still looked at me like I had it handled. The bills kept coming in, one after another. And the money, it didn't go as far as it used to. I remember sitting there, just staring at it all, trying to make it make sense. And that's what got me. Because it wasn't just about losing a job. It was about whether I could still take care of them, the way I was supposed to. I did what I was told my whole life. Worked hard, showed up, didn't cut corners. And I remember thinking, was any of it ever going to be enough? I remember that thought sitting with me. Was any of it ever going to be enough? And the thing is, once that question gets in your head, it don't leave. It follows you. Through the house, through the silence, through every little thing you used to take for granted. I stayed at that table longer than I should have. Papers spread out, numbers I'd looked at 3-4 times already, like somehow they were going to change if I stared hard enough. But they didn't. They never do. And that's when I realized something. It wasn't confusion I was feeling. It was control slipping. Slow, quiet, but real. And when you've spent your whole life being the one people depend on, that feeling, that's hard to swallow. I got up, walked through the house, and I started noticing things I never paid attention to before. The small cracks in the wall, the way the floor creaks near the hallway, the hum of the fridge, louder than usual. Or maybe I was just finally listening. Because when everything else gets quiet, you hear everything. I looked into the living room. My kids were on the floor, playing like nothing in the world could touch them. And for a second, I just stood there, didn't say nothing, didn't interrupt. I just watched. Because that right there, that's what all those years were for. Not the job, not the badge, not the routine. That. And it hit me harder than anything else that day. Because I wasn't just trying to keep a roof over our heads. I was trying to protect that moment, that peace they had. And I didn't know if I still could. I walked outside after that. Didn't grab my keys, didn't have a plan, just needed air. The morning felt different. Same street, same houses, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. Like I was just standing in it, instead of moving through it. I sat on those steps, and I started thinking about all the years I gave. 32. That's not just time. That's birthdays missed, late nights, early mornings, things you don't get back. And I wasn't even mad about that. That's the part people don't understand. I wasn't angry. I chose that. I believed in it. What got me was realizing how fast it could all disappear. No warning that matters. No way to prepare for how it feels. Just done. And I remember asking myself something, real quiet, almost like I didn't want to hear the answer. If I'm not that anymore, then what am I? And I didn't have nothing. No title, no schedule, no place I had to be. Just me. And I hadn't been just me in a long time. I went back inside, and my wife was standing there by the counter. She looked at me, and I could tell she was trying to read me, trying to see if I had something figured out, anything. And I wanted to give her that. I really did. I wanted to say, "It's all right. I got it," like I always had. But this time, that would have been a lie. So I didn't say nothing, just nodded a little, like I was still thinking. And she nodded back. And that moment right there, that silence between us, that said more than any words could. Because we both knew things were different now. Not broken, but different. And different takes getting used to. I grabbed one of those papers again, sat down, and this time I looked at it differently. Not like something to solve right away, but like something I was going to have to face, piece by piece. And that's when something small, but important, shifted in me. I stopped thinking about fixing everything at once, stopped trying to carry it all in one breath, and I started thinking, what can I do today? Not next month, not next year, today. Because when everything feels like it's falling apart, you don't rebuild it all at once. You just take one step, then another. Even if you don't know where they're leading yet. I got up again, grabbed my jacket. But this time, it wasn't out of habit. It was a decision. Small one, but it mattered. I told my wife, "I'm gonna step out for a bit." She didn't ask where, didn't need to. She just said, "All right." And there was something in her voice, not fear, not doubt, just trust. And that stayed with me. I walked down that same street again, but this time I wasn't looking at what I lost. I was trying to figure out what was still there. And it wasn't much, but it was something. I still had my hands, still had my mind, still had the ability to move. And that might not sound like much, but when everything else gets taken away, you start realizing that's a lot. I passed by a few places, stores, buildings, things I'd driven by 1,000 times, never once thinking they had anything to do with me. And for the first time, I looked at them different. Not as someone passing through, but as someone who might have to start over. And that's a hard thing to accept. Starting over. At a point in life where you thought you were supposed to be settling down. But the more I walked, the more I felt something shift. Not confidence, not yet, but willingness. And sometimes that's where it starts. Just being willing to try again, to step into something unfamiliar, to admit you don't have it all figured out, but you're not done either. I stopped at the end of the block, looked out ahead of me, and I remember thinking, this ain't the life I planned. But right after that, another thought came in, just as clear. But it's still mine. And that mattered. Because no matter how much changes, you still get a say in what you do next. And for the first time that day, I didn't feel stuck. I felt open. Not in a good way, not in an easy way, but in a real way. Like something ended and something else was waiting. I just didn't know what it was yet. And maybe that's all right, because sometimes the next chapter don't start with a big moment. Sometimes it starts with a man standing at the end of a block with nothing but a choice. And that day, I made one. I took a step forward, didn't know where it would lead, didn't know how it would turn out, but I took it anyway, because standing still wasn't an option anymore. And that was the first time, since everything changed, that I felt like I was moving again.